Continued from the previous file, question answers of Riders to the Sea, page 29. To go to the cattle fair on the mainland. She has a vision of dead Michael riding on a pony behind Bartley, and she is at once convinced that, quote, "He is gone now, God spare us, and we will not see him again," unquote. Kathleen imagines that the black hags flying over the sea will sing the funeral songs of the drowned brother Michael, and this is for her a very sad and bitter thought. Thus their religion is a strange blend of Christianity and paganism. The finer sentiments of Christianity could not crush their dark fatalism. Moria is the bereaved mother. Kathleen represents the outlook of the women of Aran Islands. They suffer, but they prepare their men for journey across the sea. As for their outer life, these people work hard at home, at the fields and the sea to earn their bread. The women folk work at the spinning wheels, mend torn pieces of clothes, and cook their simple food. The men folk are hardy and diligent. They produce crops from barren plots of land by hard work. Fish on the sea, rear sheep, pigs and horses, make ashes out of seaweeds for the manufacture of soda and potash. They are hardy seafarers, and the sea takes heavy tolls of their lives. Their poverty is appalling. They make fuel for cooking out of turf, that is decomposed vegetable matter, because they cannot afford costly fuel. Their common food is mean and wretched and much below the subsistence level. Quote, "A bit of wet flour and maybe a fish that would be stinking," unquote. This is the hard menu of their daily life, and yet they are contented and never whine against their lot. When there is death in a family, it is the concern of the whole village. So neighborly are these people. They are bound together by common lot and common misfortune, and there is the custom of, quote, "keen," unquote, that is, funeral lament by the village women kneeling around the dead body and weeping in a chorus as it were. These are the simple annals of the poor that Singh has studied and reproduced artistically in this moving tragedy. Humble and rustic life has provided material for a superb artist who makes out of them a grand tragedy like the Greek drama. Question 14. Indicate the quality of the dramatic art which is in evidence in Singh's Rider to the Sea and leads up to the climax of the tragedy. Or, how far is the tragic climax in Riders to the Sea adequately prepared by the hints and forebodings scattered throughout the play? Answer. Singh shows a good deal of skill in the plot construction of his plays in general. In the Riders to the Sea, within the limited space, page 30, of a one-act play, he has achieved a masterpiece of plot construction. Now, a plot has been defined as the arrangement of the incidents or situations of the story with casual connection among them. It is not merely an orderly arrangement of the incidents, but also of the feelings aroused by the incidents. Hence, the plot of a play is strictly governed by an artistic purpose, namely the presentation of a view of life. All that is introduced into the story must contribute to the central purpose and help the onward movement of the plot. Nothing unnecessary should be introduced to overweigh the plot or detract from the main end. Again, there should be a cause and effect relation between the incidents. Events must follow inevitably. The catastrophe, when it comes, must not be too shocking or overwhelming. It must be slowly prepared for and led to. Our minds are to be worked out in such a manner that when the end comes, we do not feel revolted by some startling development, but are reconciled to what is the logical culmination of the chain of events. A suspense is created at the climax, and this must be solved and laid to rest in the catastrophe. All that has been said above is admirably illustrated in this one-act play. The plot here is not over-elaborate or complex. The action has a definite beginning, middle, and end. The play opens in the atmosphere of horror and mystery. The exposition is admirably managed. We learn from the talks of Nora and Kathleen that the dark shadow of death has been cast upon the family. Michael has been lost in the sea these 9 days. No trace of the dead body has been discovered. The village priest has brought a packet of shirt and a stocking, and it has to be verified if they are Michael's. The priest consoles the bereaved mother, saying that, quote, God Almighty will not leave her destitute, unquote. The conflict follows. Bartley, the last surviving son, proposes to go across the stormy sea to the fair in the mainland. It is further complicated when there is a clash of wills between Bartley, supported by Kathleen and Moria, who tries to prevent him because she has seen signs and has her gloomy forebodings. Bartley must go, and he goes out with his horses. The situation becomes tense now. Gloomy signs are in the air. When Moria tries to bless the son, something chokes her throat. She cannot bless because her mind has filled with evil thoughts about the fate of her son. The climax is reached when Moria returns weeping, saying that she has had a vision of Michael riding on a grey pony behind Bartley on his red mare. This is the crisis of the play. This unnerves her, and she cries out that all is lost. This is the highest point, page 31, of tension in the plot. An awful suspense is created in the audience, who await the final solution, the breathless curiosity. Thus the end is prepared for. The ruin of Bartley is foreshadowed, and right upon this counteraction comes the catastrophe, that is, the final solution of the suspense, when the dead body of Bartley is brought by the weeping villagers. They do not cause any shock or surprise. It is the logical and sequel to the events that have preceded. It is not a startling development, but has been adequately prepared for by the gloomy forebodings and bad omens that confirm the apprehension of Moria that all is lost. Thus the structure of the plot has been skillfully built up. Question 15. Discuss to what extent Moria is an appropriate medium for conveying and precipitating the tragic sense that pervades the drama. Answer. Tragedy has from time immemorial dealt with the ruin of high and mighty natures through actions that brought them into collision with the adverse forces, moral or natural, of the world. Hence, the sense of tragedy is the sense of waste produced by the ruin of noble lives. And the sufferings of the hero and heroine of the tragedy excite the emotions of pity and fear. Pity for the ruin of the noble qualities, and fear because we feel that in like circumstances we too might meet with that destiny. Though human action is the main cause of the ruin, all great tragedies strike a note of mystery by introducing a blind power called fate, or, quote, the moral order in the universe, unquote, against which men and women fight in the dark, and, quote, this power makes them the instrument of a design which is not theirs, unquote. Though suffering and death are the staple of tragedy, yet tragedy in the true sense is never pessimistic or depressing in its effect. It cannot leave us in a mood of disgust with life, but rather in one of admiration at the greatness and magnificence of human passion and courage. It is the calm of mind, all passions spent, that all great tragedy seeks to produce. This being the broad picture of the tragic conception of life in drama, let us see how far Riders to the Sea has succeeded in producing the tragic effect. It may be noted that the play is a modern realistic tragedy, quite unlike the romantic tragedies of Shakespeare or the ancient Greek tragedies. There is nothing high and mightily grand and sublime the human materials presented in the play. Then men and women in the tragedy are just ordinary mortals with the strength and weakness of ordinary human nature. There is nothing high flown about them. We do not find among them any heroic characters like page 32, Macbeth or Hamlet or King Lear. Yet the imagination of the artist has touched their lives with such pathos and beauty that their tragedy is no less moving or soul-wrecking than that of the mighty heroes of old. Moria, the old bereaved mother of the family of 6 children, is quite an ordinary peasant woman. The story of her life is movingly pathetic. She has been mother of the family of 6 children, is quite an ordinary peasant badly mauled by fate, which is represented by the howling sea and the rough weather of the Aran Islands. It has taken a heavy toll on the 7 male members of the family and has left her utterly destitute. She suffers for no fault of hers. Her doom comes from above, from the inscrutable power working over her and not through her. The successive deaths of her father-in-law and 4 sturdy sons have developed a deep fatalism in her. The death of Michael, the 5th son, has laid her prostrate with grief. Repeated blows of fate have steeled her heart and made her supremely callous and happily insensible. Yet fate has not dried up the fountain of affection in her heart. She is constantly whining and lamenting, to the great vexation of Bartley and Kathleen. As Bartley goes out on his fatal journey, she has a mystic vision and she is sure that all is lost. All her prayers prove unavailing. Bartley is the last victim of the relentless sea. Thus, cruelly hunted and tortured by destiny, Moria becomes a picture of grief, quote, a Niobe in tears, unquote. Now the question is the picture pessimistic or tragic? Is Moria a pathetic character or a tragic character? There is all the difference in the world between a pessimistic and a tragic vision of life. Mere pessimism is depressing. It makes life a mean and sorry affair. But a truly tragic picture of life can never leave us in a mood of disgust with or rebellion against life. It gives rise to a sense of admiration at the magnificence of human passion and courage. It is the lofty conception of human character and life that turns a pessimistic view into a tragic view. This is what has been done by the dramatist through the medium of the character of Moria. Moria has attained the stature of a grand tragic heroine. She breaks but does not bend under the blows of fate. It is her magnificent resistance to fate, her challenge to the dark power, that makes her eminently heroic. She reaches a greatness in her courage and grandeur. Her stoic endurance that finds expression in the concluding speech of drama leaves forceful impression that she is the, quote, destined conqueror, not the victim of circumstances, unquote. Death, in her view, is quite an immaterial thing. It has lost its sting for her. Quote, no man at all can be living forever and we must be satisfied, unquote. These are not the words, page 33, of a weak, broken, heartless woman. It is the heroic womanhood that speaks here. Moria is indeed a grand, tragic figure. Question 16. Riders to the Sea is both Celtic and Greek. Discuss. Answer. Riders to the Sea is a Gaelic Greek tragedy. The characters are victims of fate. The central character, Moria, bows to the will of the gods at the end of the play. The play gives a strong sense of fate in the classical sense. It deals with the tragedy of a poor peasant family in the Aran Islands. Moria, the heroine, is an Irish woman who has lost all in the sea and has premonitions and anticipation of the death of her only surviving son. The play is a lament for a family whose tragedy symbolizes the fate of the salt division of mankind. It is in many respects a distinctly Irish tragedy. It depicts the predicaments of the Irish peasants. It embodies the beliefs and superstitions of the Irish fishermen who combine superstition with Christian beliefs. It is Celtic in temperament. It has something of the simplicity and depth of much Greek drama and of the Scottish ballads, where the conditions of the essential conflict are known and accepted as an aspect of the human situation. The sea is the tyrant god, full of mystery and power, the enemy and challenger of youth. Bartley is the human opponent. His two sisters perform the sacrificial prophetic function. Moria says the elegies for the dead. The keening women as a chorus, the release of tension in the resignation of Moria, the forebodings of Moria, the ritual elegies for the dead have the qualities of Greek tragic pattern. The tragedy has a strong sense of fate that all characterizes a Greek tragedy. The conflict of man with the sea is the archetypal symbol of the primitive man's helpless surrender to nature. The sea weaves the tragic net in which the characters are caught. The sea and humanity are mysteriously interlocked. It symbolizes inscrutable fate. The powerful feelings of inscrutable fate is created by such devices as ironies and forebodings and archetypal symbols. The imagery of the play is so organized as to refer us not to the world of Irish history and folklore, but also to the world of archetypal symbolism, the conflict of man with the sea, the giver and taker of life. Again and again the characters speak of the tides. The symbols of black cat, white boats, the baked bread, the new rope are all archetypal symbols which create in this Celtic drama a universal picture of man haunted and hunted by supernatural forces. The resurrection image, quote, I looked up then and I crying at the grey pony, and there was Michael, page 34, upon it with fine clothes on him and new shoes on his feet, unquote, creates the powerful feeling of inescapable fate for the riders to the sea. But this sense of fate is linked to the everyday life of the Irish islanders with their simple faith and goings on of everyday life. Bartley's instructions to his sisters to get up weed enough for another cock for the kelp, and the grumblings of the old men who are to make the coffin. It is the tragedy of the particular people who belong to the salt division of mankind. They are at the mercy of violent seas and violent winds. Moria has already lost 7 of her family members. Her forebodings and anticipations of Bartley's death at the sea are therefore natural workings of a mind long used to the sufferings of bereavement. But in its use of omens and imagery, in its structure and language, it has the, quote, felt authority, unquote, of a great drama. Its structure is Greek. The remarks of Nora and Kathleen provide the prologue of the play. With the entrance of Moria, the action starts. It is composed of Moria's griefs, her forebodings, her entreaties to Bartley, and Bartley's death. The climax is reached when Moria sees Bartley passing before him. She is borne down by the sense of impending calamity. Bartley's dead body is brought in, and Moria is at first filled with inexpressible grief. She then calms down and accepts her fate. The final scene is one of calm, all passions spent. Thus, the play combines the Celtic temperament with Greek tragic pattern. Question 17. Show how Synge attains through the one-act play a true tragic intensity. Answer. It has been observed by a critic that Riders to the Sea, quote, must be ranked as Synge's greatest achievement and perhaps also as the only true tragedy in modern literature, for it truly cleanses by pity and terror, unquote. The theme of Riders to the Sea is simple and elemental. The agony of a mother who has lost her 5 sons already and loses the 6th and last one in the play. It is the heartbreaking agony of a mother that is the subject matter of the play. The structure of the play is also simple. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. In Greek drama, the action is meant to excite pity and terror, and these feelings are most powerfully excited by events that happen unexpectedly. But in Riders to the Sea, expected things happen, and the dramatic interest lies in how things affect the human beings. Therefore, there is no revolutions or change in the Greek sense. There is rather an unexpected turn at the catastrophe. Moria becomes calm and accepts her fate with the unexpected fortitude and resignation. Page 35. The symmetry of the plot is clearly observable. There is marked division of plot beginning, middle, and end. The first part ends with the departure of Bartley for the fair. The middle covers the whole action up to the moment when Bartley is carried in dead. The end is composed of Moria's shock and grief and ultimate calm and acceptance of her fate. Thus, the two recognitions, the girl's identification of their brother's body by its clothing and the realization that the body carried in at the door is not Michael's but Bartley's, and the last reversal of the situation make up the elementary structure of the play. The remarkable thing about the play is that Synge achieves sufficient momentum within a single act by simplifying the conflict between man and fate into a conflict between man and the sea. The impetus is given by the setting of the iron cottage, the new boards for the coffin, the interpenetration of the world of the living by the world of the dead, and Moria's final resignation. Quote, they are all gone now, and there is not anything more the sea can do to me, unquote. Thus, the play is play is structurally the most intense of the one-act tragedies. It shows how within the short compass of one act, tragic appeal of the most profound kind can be created. The play can be compared with Greek tragedies. The remarks of Nora and Kathleen provide the prologue of the play. From their speeches, we get to know the antecedents about the play: Michael's death at the sea and Moria's grief. The background is suggestively etched: the simple life of the fisherwomen, their talks of the sea, the roar of the sea, and the violence of the wind that throws open the half-closed door. The clothes of Michael have been washed ashore, and they are keeping them on the shed for dry grass. With the entrance of Moria, the action starts. It is composed of Moria's grief, her forebodings, her entreaties to Bartley, and Bartley's death. A powerful tragic atmosphere is created by the premonitions of the future and dramatic ironies. The symbol of the baked bread, the white boats, the new rope have tragic associations. The symbols of horse, grey pony, and red mare, the resurrection image of Michael's dead body, are archetypal symbols which elevate the play to tragedy. The climax of the play is reached when Moria sees Michael passing before her. She has the hallucination of dead Michael riding on the pony. She is borne down by the sense of impending calamity. Then comes the denouement. Bartley's dead body is brought in, and Moria is at first filled with inexpressible grief. She then calms down and accepts her fate. Continued in the next file.